Thank you all for coming. If you could please just take a quick seat. Thank you all for coming. It's great to see a full room here, and I know we've got quite a few people who are joining us online as well. If anyone has problems hearing us online, please let me know. You can just send me a quick text or a message within the chat. But thank you all for coming here today for our first State of Jefferson County with our new administrator, Michael Lucky. We're really pleased to have him here and have him talk a little bit about why Jefferson County is really a good place or a great place to come and live, play, and work. And there's so many exciting things that are happening, and the county's in a really good position. So I'm really looking forward to his presentation today. Did also just want a reminder that on August 13th will be our next Conversations with Thrive event, which you're all invited to over at Exonia Bank, sponsored by Exonia Bank. And again, that's from 4:30 until 6, and then Wednesday, August 13th. But with that, I would like to introduce Michael Lucky, and I'll let him take it from here.
Thank you. And there might still be a couple dings as people join. I don't know when Julie's done taking pictures back there, if someone could sit over and just make sure we don't have anyone waiting in the lobby. But first of all, and I already embarrassed Julie by calling her out, but I will say one more thing, that this PowerPoint template was created by Julie, our fantastic marketing specialist at Thrive, and responsible for a lot of the great materials that if you receive anything from Thrive, you see. So thank you, Julie. Thank you, Deb, and thank you, Emily, from Thrive and JCDC for getting this off the ground. So the way that this presentation template starts, and I think it's very fitting, is to begin by examining Jefferson County's strategic plan. It was adopted in November of 2023, and it focuses on 4 key priority areas, and that's what we have in this 10-year plan to drive, but not bind, our Jefferson County growth. By focusing on these areas, we think we can accomplish not only what our County Board of Supervisors set out, but when we were developing this, the public stakeholder meetings, the various community surveys that were put out, these were consistently ranked as some of the things that we as a county, not only the county government, but the county as an entity and a collection of people should be focusing on. And those 4 areas are diverse housing options, highly regarded quality of life, intentional economic growth, and transformative government. And we all have roles to play in this. And one thing as administrator that I have as a personal goal is to ensure that our 680 or so employees all feel and understand that whatever they're doing on a daily basis does have some type of tie into the strategic plan. But in particular, the 3 people that I mentioned at the beginning, Emily, Deb, and Julie, kind of run the entire left half of this screen. When it comes to diverse housing options and intentional economic growth, it's such a high priority, each of those for our community. That a staff the size of Thrive can't do it alone, and that's why having partnerships, collaboration, and organization like Thrive that reaches out in the community and deals with the private sector, the nonprofit sector, education institutions, all that and above is so important as we continue to move forward. A little bit more background before we dive into the meat of this thing. I just wanted to introduce myself. As Deb mentioned, this will be my first State of the County address as a new administrator. I was appointed and confirmed as county administrator in March. Prior to that, I had been interim administrator from December, and before that, I had worked as assistant to the county administrator under Ben Waymeyer, beginning in July of 23. I learned a lot from Ben. Ben was an amazing administrator. We're still so fortunate to have him in the county as the president of the Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation. And prior to coming to the county, I am a Jefferson County resident. I live in Lake Mills with my wife and daughter and a second on the way. And we moved here because of the high quality of life, the ability to get to Madison, where both of our jobs were. But we wanted kind of a small community with that trusts each other. I wanted to be able to see stars at night. We wanted a little bit lower cost. There was so much going for Jefferson County. And one of the things, too, we'll get to this later, it was the location. We're a split family. I grew up in Milwaukee. My wife grew up in Sauk City. And so we're like, here's a spot on the map, right? And it just happened to be that spot on the map had everything else going for it, too. We love Jefferson County. And I had left a job to come work for the county about a decade in the state capital, working as a legislative aide and other various positions. So here's Jefferson County by the numbers. We're a population of 86,000. We're around 19th or 20th in population in the state. We're around 19th or 20th in geographic area. We have 583 square miles. On the left, you'll see kind of just some basic information about the county. What will stand out at the top is that we have about 61% of our county is cropped acreage. We are still a very agricultural community. That's important to the county board, and it's also important, I think, to a lot of the work that you do, especially as we focus on food and beverage manufacturing and certain other industries that are supported by farming. We know that farming itself is a business. We value that, but we also value kind of what that means for our opportunity for growth. We have a number of great schools, 14,000 or so students throughout those K-12 institutions, a number of 4-year and 2-year institutions as well for higher education, significant amount of county park acreage, a number of law enforcement and fire and EMS departments. That'll be important as we get a little bit later. But then as you look to the right part of this, you're going to see what we're talking about when we talk labor force. So within the county, our labor force is about 47,589 with a low unemployment rate of 3%. But if we're going beyond the county borders, we look at the labor basin, which is people within a 45-minute drive time of Jefferson County, which being a Jefferson County resident, I know you kind of got to expect to drive. And so this is not unrealistic to think 45 minutes, you could really pull an employee to come work here, eventually move here. That's 1.3 million people with a relatively young median age, a high number of households, pretty high median income, a very educated workforce. And so that's about 781,000 workers within a 45-minute drive time. And it's something, as we continue to market Jefferson County, we want to highlight that we are in they're the sweet spot geographically. And that's one of the many, many things we have going for us. Another thing about our population, we're a healthy community. We were rated 196th out of more than 3,000 counties nationwide from the Healthy Community designation. We got a gold designation, which is the highest available, and that was even an improvement from last year from 200th. So we are cracked the top 200, and we are going strong. For those of you that don't fully understand the county government itself, I won't focus on this too much, but I do want to just kind of give a little bit of a snapshot as to what we talk about when we talk Jefferson County as an institution. So as a county, there are 72 of them in Wisconsin, and they are all blends of local government, but also are in this unique spot where we are not like a municipality. We also are an arm of the state through the state constitution. And so we administer and run a lot of state programming. And we do that through 26 departments that are overseen either by elected or appointed officials, and further down to a full 680 or so county and state funded positions that operate under the banner of Jefferson County. You'll see on the org chart, what I always like to point at the very top, that pinkish, brownish box at the very top says People of Jefferson County, for those of you who can't see it. And that's ultimately who we as a county government are responsible to. Below it is the County Board of Supervisors. They're elected. We'll talk about that on the next page. The County Board of Supervisors then appoints a county administrator, who then further appoints the 26 or so departments that are in yellow. There are some department heads who are elected. Those are constitutional offices, things like our sheriff, our clerk of courts, district attorney, register of deeds, treasurer, and then also 4 judges that are independently elected. So this is the org chart for Jefferson County. It's a complicated web of who's elected, who's appointed, and things like that, but we make it work, and so far it's been working very, very well. I mentioned the Board of Supervisors. There are 30 of them. You are sitting in their chairs right now. These are their districts spread throughout the county. They are elected to 2-year terms in April even-numbered years, and they sit then on 39 different committees, boards, commissions, and other bodies that oversee department work and bring policies and procedures up to the board that meets the second Tuesday every month at 7:00 p.m. in this room. Our county board is currently led by Steve Nass, our county board chair from the town of Lake Mills. Michael Winnicky is our first vice chair from the city of Watertown, and Blaine Polson, our second vice chair from the village of Palmyra. When it comes to our budget, this 2025 budget we're operating under is $109.6 million. That is the expenditures. The revenues come from a various level of funds. One of the largest is the tax levy, property tax, and that is $32.7 million, or about 30% of our budget. The rest comes from various sources like the sales tax, fines, intergovernmental revenues are a big part, and then a lot of the Human Services Department is passed through from the federal government and the state government. Our mill rate is low. It's not the lowest in the state, but it is low. We're at 2.8 for our mill rate this past year. 9 of the past 10 years have had a mill rate decrease. I think what's very important about 2025, and we'll definitely be hoping to continue this trend as we go into 2026, is that we've had 2 consecutive years of both a reduction in the levy and the mill rate, which means that we are doing more with less tax money. We're being good stewards of tax dollars, and we are trying to continue to market ourselves as competitive, especially in the region, especially in the state. But as you look at some other high-tax states that we're surrounded by, Jefferson County does very, very well. Because of our fiscal responsibility, we have maintained for many years an AA2 bond rating. And you can see on the right, that little graph shows the countywide mill rate. The one other thing I did want to highlight in this is that we have undergone a priority-based budgeting. So going back to the strategic plan, looking at how every single one of our 700 or so programs that are run by the county fit in with the strategic plan, and what opportunities we have to make more efficient, consolidate, grow, eliminate programs that just are not fitting with the plan set out by the County Board of Supervisors. I know AI is a big buzzword, but we actually did leverage AI through a company called ResourceX to look at counties nationwide that might have analogous programming or things like that, and revenues and expenditures that we can look at to optimize our budget to make sure we are doing the best for the people of Jefferson County. I'm going to brag a little bit about the high rate that we have here, and some people in this room actually going to be mentioned. We have received a number of awards recently through our departments. Maria de la Luz Lira, who is one of our public health nurses, was recently named Nurse of the Year by the Wisconsin Nursing Association, the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Our Land and Water Conservation Department received the Working Lands Preservation Award earlier this year from Gathering Waters. Our Finance Department has received both the Distinguished Budget Presentation and the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Really stumbled over that one. Sorry, guys. From the Government Finance Officers Association, we are one of few counties statewide that receives both of these. And they help us do things like have a low bond rating because of the transparency and level of trust that we have. Our health director, Elizabeth McGeary, was named a notable healthcare leader by Biz Times Media, and Deb Reinbold in August will be named Woman Executive of the Year by Biz Times. We're very proud of her and the work she's done. Congratulations. So because of some of that, but also just because of what we have going for us as a county, you know, Jefferson County is more than just the county institution. It is a fabric of wonderful communities led by amazing people, with amazing people living in them, a lot of community pride, and we are starting to make a name for ourselves, and word is getting around. As a county, we're trying to support that by actually undergoing right now a hiring process for a communications and marketing coordinator position. And what I'm hoping to do with that will be a direct report to me. We'll support the county board, county departments, and communities countywide in tourism and marketing coordination. We currently do have a person we're working with, Carl Roby, in the back. Carl waved to everybody. He is currently helping us with our communications, and I think we're seeing a lot of dividends from that. And I'm grateful for all the work we've been able to do together. Just this week, some of you might have seen on social media, the Cabin podcast did about 42-minute episode on hidden gems in Wisconsin. Jefferson County took about 6.5 minutes of that episode. There was love given to pretty much every community in Jefferson County. As a Lake Mills resident myself, I will say he said, "I love everything about Lake Mills. I love everything about it." I must have watched that probably 9 times because I do too. But he brought up, and the other people on the panel, actually one of them was a Johnson Creek native, talked about all the great things we have going in Jefferson County. And this was completely unsolicited. I didn't even see it until it was flagged for me by Carl. And it is just amazing hearing, you know, statewide on Discover Wisconsin's podcast, the great things that are going on in Jefferson County and the way it's being recognized. Part of what Discover Wisconsin did through their Uniquely Wisconsin brand actually was run 3 different segments on Jefferson County. These 3 were, one was on William Hord, W.D. Hord in Fort Atkinson, and how he, as a governor of Wisconsin, but also as a leader in the dairy industry, really helped create this image of Wisconsin as the dairy state. One internally focused story we had was on our Mott Center, which we'll talk a little bit more about too, but you might be familiar with it. It is a youth crisis stabilization facility in Watertown, open in great collaboration with the state and the city. the foundation. So we're very happy with how that's going, and this was an opportunity to show some of that off. And the last one was a really interesting segment on economic development and some of the great businesses we have here. As everyone might know, the world headquarters of Trek is in Waterloo, Wisconsin. And in this segment, they highlight the Project One line of bicycles, which are handcrafted, hand-painted, specialized bikes for some of the world's top athletes. They go through a little bit of a story of getting a custom-painted bike to France, basically overnight in time for the final leg of the Tour de France. We've also participated in some podcasts that you might be interested in hearing. There's a picture of Deb and me at the Upswing in Milwaukee. They titled it Going Mad Walkie in Jefferson County, highlighting a lot of the economic development news that's been happening. And I was recently on the Local Gov Matters podcast through the County Association, again, talking about all the great things that are happening here. When I was a legislative staffer, we used to talk about earned media versus, media that's just, now I'm forgetting the name, paid media, but also then you've got, so this was some earned media, but we were able to continue to tell our story. And one final piece of way that we're trying to continue to tell our story is through the new Jefferson County Connect newsletter. You can sign up for it directly on our website, jeffersoncountywi.gov, and we will be sending out quarterly newsletters highlighting some of the leaders in Jefferson County, some of the ways that we are, as through the county board, enacting the priorities that are set out in the strategic plan, and some of the great news we have going on. So I would encourage you, please, to go directly to our website. There's a pop-up that will head directly to that link, or you can go to jeffersoncountywi.gov/news. So let's get into some of this economic development, which I think is something that I'm sure you all want to hear about and want to talk about. I referenced our intentional economic growth in our strategic plan, and the use of that modifying word, intentional, was intentional. What we want to do when we grow is, well, I'll just read it verbatim. By embracing growth with intentionality, we will create a legacy of prosperity that respects our environment, celebrates our culture, and offers opportunities to the residents and businesses that have chosen to call Jefferson County home. Now, we have municipal leaders in this room. We have business leaders in this room, nonprofit leaders in this room. I think we're all kind of on the same page about what we're talking about when we talk intentional economic growth. But just to really kind of belabor this point and sit on it for a little bit, what makes Jefferson County special is this quality of life. It's small communities that trust each other. And so I don't think anyone thinks growth is raising over a farm field 15 miles from the nearest downtown and putting up a bunch of single family homes on 10-acre lots, right? I don't think right now, as we're talking growth, that is what we're talking about. We're talking about growth to support businesses, support retail, support our workforce, primarily in urban service areas, transportation corridors, density, infill. But we're not only talking residential, we're talking commercial, we're talking industrial, we're talking retail. But if we can focus on ways to plan for the growth that we know is coming, right? We sit on I-94, Highway 26, directly bisects the county. Areas, I call it kind of like the Venn diagram, right? Waukesha metro area, Milwaukee metro area, Madison metro area, up from Janesville, up from Illinois. Growth is coming our way. And if we can plan and be intentional about that, what we can do is encourage even more growth by making sure that we maintain a high quality of life and that expectation of why people want to move to Jefferson County in the first place. Lower cost of living, right? All those things. So why is growth important for a government like Jefferson County? Growth is important because we operate under levy limits in the state of Wisconsin. We are only able to raise levy based on net new construction at the highest, right? And so when we talk about improving our equalized value, we want to encourage net new construction here in a way that will help us to fund the high quality services that people come to expect of the government. But not only that, it has benefits for school enrollment and school aids. It means that you can expand services to grow with your base. It helps with employment for businesses. Businesses need to be able to expand and grow as well. And if there's not new people coming in, new people entering the workforce, that's not going to happen here. It's location of private sector services too, those ancillary services that support some of the larger businesses and smaller businesses. And there's some other spillovers for municipalities, things like the ability to apply for additional general transportation aids and things like that. So I did talk a little bit at the beginning of the slide about what we mean by growth, but this is really what we mean when we talk about it internally. We're talking about growing in urban service areas and along our transportation corridors. We're talking about density and infill, both multi and single family, and that's residential, but we're also talking commercial and industrial. And for this, partnerships are key, and that's going to be really a highlighted, I think, future in this presentation. So Deb and I actually gave a presentation to the Jefferson County Board of Realtors about 2 months ago, and I stole this slide directly from that because we were talking to some of the people who are involved in actually selling homes and marketing Jefferson County as a destination to what it means to attract different types of growth. And I'm sure you are all very familiar with this, but laying it out like this helps me see some of the connections and ways that this all ties together. So industrial growth is important. We've seen billions of dollars in investment in industrial growth here in Jefferson County in the past decade. And how do we attract that? We have land available. We have utility capacity. We have zoning. We have workforce. We have housing. That's all very, very important for us to continue to focus on. Well, then, if we need housing, that means we need residents and housing. So how do we attract that? Well, to attract housing, you have to have a growing community. You have to have an availability of land again. There has to be some ease of development. The financials have to make sense, and you have to look at balancing supply and demand, not only in just volume of units, but also in the type of housing and housing quality. And how do you attract residents to live in that housing? Well, yeah, first of all, you have housing available. Second of all, it's affordable. And third, they look for things like transportation and quality of life. And I put this in that realtor slide because I think it's something every realtor is familiar with: location, location, location. And what do we have here in Jefferson County? We have the perfect location to grow. All of this then attracts retail. Retail is driven by rooftops and wages. And so having commercial growth, residential growth, housing growth will lead to retail growth, and that will continue to drive a high quality of life for our residents. So what have we been doing on this in this past year in the state of the county? Well, first, I think this was probably one of the highlights of the year, was the Madwalkie 2050 event that took place earlier this spring. Showing right now on this slide part of the cover story of Biz Times Media. You'll see the map. It says, "Next in line, Jefferson County positioned for growth, but will execution meet expectations?" And we think it will. And we are working every day in partnership with all of you to make sure that that does happen. But look at even what they chose to put as their cover image. It's Jefferson County on a map, and it's right next to Dane County. It's right next to Waukesha County. I think everyone understands that this corridor is important. Inside that piece was commentary from the editor of Biz Times Media, with a commentary saying Jefferson County's time has arrived. And I cannot think of a more perfect headline. It is here, and we are going to strike while the iron is hot and keep taking advantage of this. The purpose of this event was to talk about the corridor between our state's two largest cities and what that's going to look like in the year 2050, understanding that there is going to be opportunity here to grow. And if we plan and talk and have conversations about what that looks like, that will poise us better for when the year 2050 comes, being happy with where we are. Very meaningful thing that happened at the event was Dale Koinga, who is the president of MMAC and M7, kind of the Milwaukee development region, and Everett Butzine, who is the president of MadRep, which is the 7-county area around Dane County, the Madison Region Economic Partnership. With the two of them on stage on a panel, actually moderated by Andrew, the editor who wrote this piece. And they were talking about this corridor, and something that I think I will continue to repurpose are Dale's remarks on what this looks like. And there's kind of two things that really stood out for me from his remarks. One of them is, as we look at even looking to attract workers and businesses from large metro areas nearby, like Chicago, the amount of time that it takes to get from downtown Milwaukee to downtown Madison, and you could drive from the Calatrava on this map to the Capitol building on this map in the same amount of time that could take you to go from the south side of Chicago to the north side of Chicago. This geographic distance is not as daunting as it might seem, especially given the growth that's happening, the commutation patterns, and the traffic that we have. So this is definitely doable to see this as a corridor where people could realistically live on one end and work on the other. Another thing that Dale talked about, though, was that we have a physical link through Jefferson County connecting what is a national powerhouse in historic manufacturing with a national powerhouse in kind of future technologies such as intellectual property, IP, biohealth, bioforward designation. And as those technologies continue to expand, manufacturing evolves, IP evolves, the line between that gets a little bit more blurred. And so if you have kind of now two national powerhouses that are starting to enter each other's space, what better spot than to look at investing and developing in that corridor as we talk about the future of production in the state of Wisconsin and really in the United States of America. What we have in Jefferson County is really special, and this event highlighted that and helped us kind of kick off the next 25 years. Something that's happening here in Jefferson County. Onego Bio, which is a Finnish food technology company, is going to invest up to $300 million to build their flagship plant here in the Food and Beverage Innovation Campus in the city of Jefferson. Onego Bio is a very exciting company. The CTO is a Wisconsin native. He went to UW-Madison, and they developed a patented product called bioalbumin, which is an identical protein to what you'd find in egg whites, but it is derived through a fermentation or brewing process. They're looking at some really exciting grants because of the food chain stability they'd be able to provide, some of the benefits actually that the U.S. government might be looking into. We are really excited to see Onego Bio come here, and they will be closing on about 20 acres in the Food and Beverage Innovation Campus, hopefully this year. But we're making headlines all throughout the county. Just recently in Fort Atkinson, there was a closing on over 10 acres in their Clement Business Park for a really exciting flexible industrial development that's going to be happening. This is kudos to Rebecca and the city council in Fort Atkinson for working on that, and as well as the private sector partners that helped with this. I think it's going to be transformative for Fort Atkinson and therefore transformative for Jefferson County. And so we're grateful to see that. Up in Watertown, Mason, your team with Johnsonville and a lot of the great things that are going on there, expansions, housing. I mean, we're going from the south end of the county to the north end of the county. Really, really exciting things happening and making headlines everywhere we go. We've also can talk a little bit about some of the residential headlines we're making. This was a recent article, and Melissa's in here with Habitat for Humanity closing on some property just across from Madison College with the involvement of the college and support. College Park, right, is the name of the development. Going to be about 12 units then in really affordable housing to help support that. So I just pulled like last week's headlines, right? This slide could go on for the next hour with some of the news that's happening, and we're just so excited. And we're also building homes. These are not perfect dots. So, if you take a picture of this, then zoom in, you're not going to see exactly where in every community these are, but it's pretty close. These dots on the map, though, are projects that are in development, in various stages of development. Some of them are very close. Some of them are the initial discussions, but they represent 1,500 new housing units coming to Jefferson County. This is thanks to the work being done by everyone in this room, in particular, some of our leadership at Thrive. And we're very excited to see additional housing being developed in many of our communities. There was a groundbreaking again in Fort Atkinson yesterday on some of the transformative work being done there. And as we talk, we're going to transition into the housing study a little bit, but I'll talk about why that's so necessary and why it's so exciting too. So not only does the county strategic plan call for housing, but Thrive Economic Development strategic plans also call for supporting housing. And in May of 2023, there was a housing summit that was held in Lake Mills talking about where we're at for housing and where we need to go. And that set the stage for a lot of this, especially the Live Local Development Fund. But recently, Thrive commissioned a new study as an update to that called the Residential Market Analysis. It was done just this May by Tracy Cross and Associates. And this study was a thorough investigation of Jefferson County and the surrounding areas to identify factors expected to impact residential potentials going forward. They looked at all relevant statistics. They did thorough assessments of the current market, and they also tried to forecast demand for residential development over the next 5+ years. Some of the things that are called out in that, my slides are going to focus on a lot of the opportunities, but some of the things that were called out in that are the historic absence of new multifamily development in a lot of communities that had happened over the past 10, 15, 20 years. The multifamily unit that just broke ground in Fort Atkinson is the first multifamily unit to come into that city in 25 years. a quarter century, and it's happening now because, again, Jefferson County's time has arrived. This is transformative for the city, transformative for the county, and it's something we are seeing replicated in communities countywide. So here's that market analysis showed. First and foremost, current conditions in the residential marketplace lend full support for the demand and need for new residential development. Full stop. We need housing here. We have housing, we need more. As it relates to the ownership sector of the market, supply side constraints are also apparent, especially for moderately priced mainstream product. We need affordable housing here, and we can have people moving here, owning homes, putting down roots, sending their kids to our schools. And finally, growth in the county remains positive, which too bodes well for future housing initiatives. If you invest here, if you build housing here, it is a good, safe, fulfilling investment. Fostered by a stable economy and on the heels of expected positive household growth, construction requirements for new housing in Jefferson County will average a minimum of 385 units annually. We are building housing. We're building a significant amount of housing, but we can still build more. This market reality represents an opportunity for housing initiatives across the county. And even beyond derived demand, the overall base of residential construction requirements could actually be higher during any given year where properly positioned supply is made available. This is kind of my story, right? I moved here from Madison. A housing unit was available. If more housing is available, what this basically says is we can see demand beyond what the pent-up demand is. Because as people look and see, I want to move here for a high quality of life, I want to move here for a lower cost of living. This is a microcosm of what's happening in places throughout America. Some of our states, or some of our country's largest cities are seeing an exodus to people that want to see a change, right? They want more flexibility, higher quality of life, lower costs. And we live in an area where there's 1.3 million people within a 45-minute drive time. And if we build housing for them with intentionality, there's a chance that we could see even additional growth beyond what was called for in this analysis. So how do we plan for this? Well, first, if you want to see, if you're anyone involved in housing development, you want to see the full plan, it's available on Thrive ED's website. The QR code right here will take you directly to it. What you'll see in there is that an economic and demographic forecast calls for a mixture of housing types and housing price points, all along the spectrum, all along the sizes, all along the construction details and architectural designs. We can use housing here, and let's be creative about it. How we plan is our strategic plan calls for it. Like I said earlier, we try and provide commercial and personal housing assistance. So on the personal side, we offer HUD counseling. We'll talk a little bit about for people with reduced incomes, trying to connect them with the proper housing. But also on the housing development side, we have the Live Local Development Fund, which I'll talk a little about more as well. But that's a really exciting opportunity and something we're very, very proud of and is seeing a lot of attention statewide. And finally, we, as a group in this room and as Thrive, are looking at increased advocacy on education and partnerships, because everything comes back to that collaborative spirit, which we have here in Jefferson County in spades. So we talk a little about that collaborative spirit and some of the things that we want to do in Jefferson County. So number one, we want to continue to use and grow this fund, Live Local Development Fund. It's done in partnership with all of these. It's loans of up to $25,000 per unit for a negotiated term at or below market rates, currently being deployed for multifamily, but will be in the future, hopefully for single family as well throughout the county. That number, as of this morning, I am told that I can say is actually up to $10 million with an additional planned investment from Premier Bank. So we thank them for that. And we will continue to look at getting this out the door and using it to grow housing here in the county. Something that's available then on the personal side is people are looking, do I have a good enough credit score? Do I have enough savings? Well, starting this summer, we are launching what's called the Jefferson County Financial Empowerment Center. This is something I'm particularly proud of. A number of you in this room have probably heard about it. But in partnership with Community Action Coalition, we're going to be offering the services of 2 full-time counselors, virtually and kind of remotely scattered throughout the county, meeting with people one-on-one to offer free, professional, one-on-one financial counseling that is client-led. It's open to their goals. They set goals. And in the 4 key areas of decreasing debt, increasing credit, increasing savings, and getting a proper and safe banking. Financial empowerment centers, there's about 35 of them nationwide. We would be the first one to be kind of done in a rural county, but we definitely see the need for it. And it's open to all Jefferson County residents or employees of Jefferson County businesses. Some of the successes that have been seen, if a client has set out to make one of these goals, on an average nationally, what they see is a decrease in debt of about $4,700, an increase in credit. Their credit score will increase about 35 points, an increase of savings about $2,300, and a pretty significant increase in people who are unbanked getting their money into banks and financial institutions. This is going to be really exciting. There's been a lot of work that's happened. This has been about a 2-year process of development. And like I said, it is launching this summer, a soft launch actually just in about 2 weeks, with a hard launch coming later this fall. So we are very excited to connect people with that. If anyone has any questions about ways to maximize opportunities of this, please let me know. Also, anyone who sees financial stability as a partnership in the mission for their business, their financial institution, and wants to help sponsor and support this, we are also accepting that, and I would be happy to talk about some of those opportunities. We're grateful for the many, many partners that have already helped, either with in-kind locations, or program referrals, or financial support. So thank you. I didn't have enough space. You can see the slide is already crammed as it is, but on the website, you are called out with your logo and a special note of gratitude for getting this off the ground. Another thing that's happening with another partnership here in the county is growth of broadband. It's not as dire as it probably was in previous state of the county addresses. We are really seeing a lot of things being built. There's been a significant amount of federal and state investment as well. But one that I want to point to in particular that the county is supporting is a fiber loop through the county. This is through Bug Tussle. Again, a little bit of a small legend here, but you'll see everything in green is live. Everything in pink is in the deployment stage, and everything in orange is getting deployed with conduit right now. So pretty much the whole county is nearing the end of this project. There's a couple stages still in permitting, but those are also working their way through. Spectrum just recently in June announced a launch of additional internet services to about 4,200 homes in Jefferson County. And we are still working through the federal BEAD program. That's the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program. There's about $1 billion coming to the state of Wisconsin. We're one of 19 states getting more than $1 billion. And we were just about ready to get the money out the door when there was a change at the federal level that closed the program down to do a little bit of minor tweaking. Things are back up again, and we are the application process has been reopened, and we're hoping to see some deployment through that as well to make sure we can hook up 100% of residences and businesses in Jefferson County with the broadband they need. Some other things we're working on. Continuation and expansion of our HUD counseling. Again, this is through our at-home program, and this is the opportunity to help connect people with affordable and adequate housing. We have an EMS working group that is meeting to look at the emergency medical system countywide, and if there's ways that the county as an entity can help support those municipal departments. On that sit representatives from the town government, village governments, city governments, our sheriff's department, medical examiner, county board supervisors. And this is an example, I think, of the county planning ahead at something that could it be better? We don't know, but let's take a look. We're also, as a county board, examining accessory dwelling units, which is a really cool policy that's being examined right now by the Planning and Zoning Committee. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the term, an accessory dwelling unit, you can kind of see some examples here on the middle of the slide, is a secondary residence that's on the home, smaller in footprint than the primary structure, and with the idea of using it for something like a mother-in-law suite, elderly parents living at the home, adult children having their own living space, but still at the home, even offering it for, rentals, long-term rentals to help with an affordability option. And the reason why the committee is examining something like this is we talk about that intentional growth and are wanting to drive growth and development within those transportation corridors and urban service networks. But even within our zoning ordinance that is countywide in some of our more rural areas, something like this would immediately increase density without sacrificing a single acre of farmland. This would be a way to help us grow, help attract more housing, help attract additional flexibility and affordability options. And so right now the committee is examining those policies, where it exists, what success we've had, and we hope to have a great model to share with other counties and communities statewide too. And happening this August at the Watertown Public Library, we are going to be working with the state of Wisconsin Department of Justice and Department of Corrections to look at what's called the sequential intercept model and mapping that. So this has to do with our corrections system and our justice system and the way people move all the way through it, from intercept 0, which is just a person having a crisis, through intercept 4, which might be incarceration either in a county jail or state prison, and then intercept 5, which is parole and probation. And we want to track and see what resources and systems and opportunities we have in place to improve that system at every single intercept, so that we are making sure that that we are doing the best for our citizens, not only those who are involved, but all community members as well. This is, again, just an example of some of the partnerships that we rely on. County government can never do it alone, and we are so grateful for being in a place that has such high-quality services and high-quality community partners. A few other department and county highlights then that are not so much forward planning as just ways to brag a little bit more about Jefferson County, and as Deb said, why this is such a great place to live, work, and play. We got a new crop of department heads actually since this last time around. You'll see some new faces. A fair amount of them are familiar from different roles, but are now in leadership positions for the county. Just recently, we named a new permanent highway commissioner, Sean Heaslip. We have a new sheriff who was appointed by the governor, Travis Mays, and his new undersheriff, Jerry Hofferman. We have a new judge who was likewise appointed by Governor Evers, but has since won a re-election to a full 6-year term, Teresa Beck for Branch 2. Our new emergency management director, Tracy Hamo, who's worked with a number of your communities on getting particular hazard mitigation plans in place and many other things, and has actually helped respond to some of the weather emergencies that we've seen in the county. Me. Hello, everyone. And our new facilities director, John Fox, who, as I talk about some of the initiatives that we're looking at as a county, I am leaning on John more and more. Something that we've done and will continue to do is host a legislative breakfast. So again, in this room, twice a year, maybe once a year, depending on when the campaign cycles and stuff fall, we bring everyone who is a legislator at any level of government into this room to talk about our shared priorities, goals, opportunities, concerns. And so we have town board chairs, we have municipal leaders, whether appointed or elected, we have county board supervisors, state representatives, state senators, U.S. congressmen or their staffs, U.S. senators. And so we are grateful to continue to have this opportunity as a county to say, how can we stretch every dollar furthest? How can we make sure that we are doing the best for our citizens? And an opportunity to get people from 5 or so levels of government involved is really exciting. And I'm grateful for the enthusiasm we have for this type of event. We just put on a remarkable county fair. Show of hands, was anyone there? All right. You helped drive some of these numbers. Thank you. So July 9th to 13th was our 2025 fair. The theme, Wizard of Oz. There's no place like fair. The tornado almost showed up. Tracy kept it away. She said no, pulled the curtain. But even with that, we saw remarkable growth in our county fair and a great level of enthusiasm. To highlight quickly before I get to the numbers, which I'm sure you're looking at already, but on the bottom of the screen is a rebrand that was done to kind of identify that we have a fair park, which is a remarkable asset that we have here in the city, but they run events year round. We also have a fair that is kind of fair specific, and they did a great job. Attendance was up year over year this year, 13%. Gate receipts were up 32%, about 60,000 more in revenue at the gates because of the excitement and enthusiasm people have for their county fair. And we're so grateful for all the work that went into that. And thank you for those of you who were able to attend. Next year, it'll be the second week in July again. Mark your calendars already. It's going to be fantastic. Our county highway system, we're continuing our corridor-based maintenance projects. For those of you who can see the screen, the blue is all stuff that was done within the past, since 2020, so 4 to 5 years. What we've done is reformat our county highway maintenance to look at corridor-based maintenance projects, so looking at entire stretches of highway and maximizing our ability to improve them at a given time to help with costs, but also to minimize disruptions. So we're on a 20-year highway plan for our corridor-based maintenance projects. And just to give you an idea of what the size of that is, we have 256.3 center lane miles, so about 511 or so lane miles in our county highway system. But we're also involved a little bit with some of the maintenance on our interstate, which is another a significant amount of center lane miles. Our state highways, another significant amount, and then obviously our locals, our local governments, towns, cities, villages that all maintain over 1,000 center lane miles of road themselves. In that, because of some that we've been able to do, we take pavement ratings every year based on the quality of the pavement and the ability to drive on it. It's a 10-point scale, and we have improved now to a 7.8 in 2024, which was a 5.5 in 2015. So we are seeing a great dividends from that ability to plan on corridor-based projects. And if I go back to this screen, the only two that are kind of at the end of their working life, which is Highway V in Lake Mills and Highway D between Fort Atkinson and kind of Hebron area, that is all happening this year. So this was a December 24 map. Another one of our largest departments, our sheriff's office. With a new sheriff and a new jail, we have strong recruitment, high employee satisfaction. Our jail is now fully staffed with 32 full-time deputies. Patrol is staffed almost fully with their 32 deputies. And so we are grateful for, I think, the high employee satisfaction. Word is getting around. This is a good place to work. Law enforcement is a challenging career. It's been challenging everywhere to recruit for law enforcement, but we are grateful for the work that's gone in and the ability to say that if you want to work in law enforcement, you should do it here for Gesso. Mentioned earlier, we have 22 county parks. 2 of them turned 25 this year. Korth Park outside of Lake Mills, Carnes Park outside of Fort Atkinson. That celebration is coming up on August 19th. This picture is really cool. This happened actually at our last Brew with a View event, double rainbow stretching across the horizon at Korth Park. Brew with a View is happening tonight. It is a fundraiser that happens the final Thursday of every month during the summer, and it's done in partnership with Tyranina Brewing Company. Food trucks, beer, live music, one of the most beautiful vistas you'll get in the entire Jefferson County. Come on out to Korth Park if you have no plans tonight. Otherwise, we've got a couple more before the season ends, but definitely keep that on your radar. Our Human Services Department is our largest county department. I just wanted to go through, it would be impossible to adequately summarize for you and accurately summarize all the work that they do, but it's our obligation as a county government to make sure that our residents are taken care of in a good way. I think as scrutiny on government increases, one of the things that people want to make sure is that we are actually spending money in human services in ways that benefits people and is met with a high level of satisfaction. So I just wanted to share a couple things. All of these you would find in our 2024 annual report that's put together. We do a congregate and home delivered meal service. And we recently switched to a new vendor, and this is one of the testimonials we got. My parents love the new fresh meal options. These meals have changed their eating life. This is the best decision we could have made for our parents. Thank you. We have Welcome to Medicare workshops that see increased attendance. We are running our first run and walk for suicide prevention on September 13th. That'll be done in Watertown or Riverside Park. All of our CCS staff, our comprehensive community services, are trained in motivational interviewing, which is a goal. We have program satisfaction increase from 4.3 to 4.6 this year for our community support program on a 5-point scale. In our Birth to 3 program, which supports children as they need maybe some assistance in their development from the ages of 0 to 3. We're seeing earlier and earlier referrals, which is helping us reach kids earlier and show more positive outcomes. And finally, here's just another testimony I pulled out of our Children's Long-Term Support Program. It says, "We have come a long way from the beginning. CLTS is just an amazing program." Again, this is our largest county department. It's impossible to summarize everything they do, but my expectation of them, our board's expectation of them, is that they continue to recognize, why they're doing the work they're doing, and it really shows that they do. So here's what we got going on in the future. I mentioned John Fox earlier, our new facilities director. With me stepping into this new role too, we're just wrapping up this courthouse renovation project. It's beautiful. It's so well done. Many of you were involved. Thank you for that. But that really took a lot of the energy in our facilities out of the room. And so when I came in, this was kind of everything consuming it. And so now we're looking at, okay, we've got other campuses spread throughout the city and throughout the county. Where do those fall? So our building grounds committee is touring and examining all those to see what potential upgrades would be done there. We did, through the state, receive a grant to do a full energy audit of all of our facilities, and we're applying for a grant to now implement some of those energy saving strategies to make sure we are being good environmental stewards as well. We're going to be adding more parking. Anyone have difficulty this morning? We're looking at adding a lot of new spots here for the courthouse, and we're also designing a new lobby and health and human services to improve security. We're going to be looking at upgrading our website. incorporate more video, help with some of the marketing and tourism piece. We know we're going to be seeing additional solar and alternative energy projects coming to the county. And so we're looking at ways to make sure that we are both protecting the environment as well as encouraging development of that and supporting farmers that choose to rent their land for those availabilities. And finally, as a county, we are focusing on that transformative government piece that was brought up at the beginning of our strategic plan. We want to be a leader in local government. We want people to be proud of being residents of Jefferson County, know that we're responsive, deal with a high level of professionalism and employee satisfaction and customer satisfaction. And we want to make sure people know that we are a place that is financially responsible. We use data to drive our budgets and our policy. We invest in professional development for our staff. We have succession planning for our staff. We're improving our staff wellness, but we are always working with partnerships and collaboration, and that being key. And so with that, I will say proudly that the state of the county is strong because of those partnerships, because of that collaboration. This has been a remarkable year for the county. The opportunity to step in as administrator to an organization as well run and as with a reputation like this is amazing. But your partnership and your participation in something like Thrive, which is a model for economic development and has so much strength, is key. I'm very grateful for you coming to this education session. Education sessions like this happen regularly throughout the year. There are also conversations with Thrive, like Deb brought up, which is an opportunity to network, have some food, have some drinks, and learn about some things that are going on in the county. The more participation you have with Thrive, the better, I think, both for you and for us. We have a lot going for us. This is going to be another strong, remarkable year. The road is bright ahead, and we have our foot on the gas, and we're going to keep going. Thank you very much. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, I don't know if there's things on the agenda or just the opportunity to continue to build these partnerships and growth and make some personal connections. So thank you very much.
With that, does anyone have any questions? Well, thank you everyone for attending. Michael, you did a great job. Thank you so much. It was a really good overview of everything that's going on in the county. Was there a question, Elizabeth?
Thinking.
You're thinking? You're not required. Okay, wonderful. Well, again, thank you everyone for coming here today. And we have recorded this session. We will be sharing this on our website. Thank you.